Good. Introduce yourself.
Okay, so I am Amy Impellizzeri, and this is I Know How This Book Ends Virtual Book Club. And I am so excited to welcome Amy Sue Nathan, the best-selling author of The Last Bathing Beauty. I loved this book. It just came out. It technically just came out April 1st,
Right.
but it was a Amazon Kindle first reads. Is that right? In March. So I know that's when I grabbed it, and I know that's when lots of people grabbed it and got an early sneak peek of this book. And it's just so fabulous. And
Thank
I
you.
love you, and I love all your books. And this is, I thought it was a little departure at first, but then as I got into it, I recognized your writings so clearly.
It's not me, but it is.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to talk about this with you. So let's start with the inspiration behind this book, because I know you talk a little bit about this in the back of the book, and I've heard this a little bit, but this is so fascinating. So I'd love for you to share more about the inspiration behind the story of this book.
Well, I fell in love with the Southwest Shore of Michigan. I lived near Chicago at the time and discovered it after I had lived there for 13 years already. No one had ever told me how beautiful it was and how the beaches were. And when I discovered it, I thought I definitely wanted to set a story there and imagine that I would create a town so that I didn't have to hold to one in particular.
Right.
And as I was doing research so that I could compile information and traits from different towns that existed to create my own, I stumbled upon South Haven, which I just happened to stumble upon it, and has a rich Jewish history. And no matter what I do, the characters in my book always end up being Jewish because I am, and they just, I'd like to write a Christmas story, and it's just not going to ever happen because it just doesn't. And I found that there was an exhibit on the history of Jewish South Haven starting right at the time that I wanted to start writing this book. So our friends and I went to South Haven, and that was really how it started. I contacted the Historical Association, and I know that the director, Googled me and looked me up to make sure I wasn't some kind of weirdo that, just wanted all this information on her town. And I fell in love with it. I really felt like I belonged there for some strange reason, it just really worked. And the more I wrote, the more I was entranced with the town, and I kept going back, and I was introduced to a woman who's featured prominently in my acknowledgments. Her name is Charlene, and I think she's 88 now. And when I met her, I told her all about the story, and the things in the story a lot of them had really happened to her. So it was really very strange. And she's the one who said to me, she said, the movie Dirty Dancing? And I slapped her arm. I said, I knew you were going to say that. She said, that's what my life was like.
Oh my gosh.
And
I love that.
I think she was thrilled to have somebody to tell her stories to. And I was thrilled to meet her and to get to know her and hear all her stories. And
so the book has two timelines, because it starts, like you said, you wanted to start it at a certain time, which is 1951, right? The book has these two timelines of events that are happening in 1951 and then present day. So talk about that. How challenging was that? Because that's a departure for you, right? I don't think you've done that in any of your prior books.
I've never done that before.
Right. So, but it was seamless. It was beautiful. I don't know if I love the device of Betty Boop. And so when she's Betty, I'm clearly in the right timeline when she's Betty or when she's Boop. It was very easy from a reader standpoint. But tell me about, as a writer standpoint, what were the challenges of taking that on?
The challenges were monumental. I still really actually refer to it as the book that almost killed me.
I'm glad it
did.
If
you read it and it doesn't seem like that, then I have done my job.
It does not seem like that.
It was really, really hard for me. I talked to a lot of historical fiction authors, as I was getting started, and I didn't take advice from any of them. They all said that they wrote in the timelines in the way they were read, past,
Okay.
present, so that they could transition from one to the other. I couldn't do that. I could not write 1951 and then jump to a present day. I really had to be immersed in the past in order to write
Interesting.
it. So I wrote all of Betty's story, and then I wrote all of Boop's story, and
Oh,
then I
that's
did
so
them together.
interesting.
And that
Oh, that's so
really,
interesting.
let's say nightmare would be a kind word.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's really interesting, but I can understand that because it was very, I mean, it's just a totally different time. And there
Right.
were things that I was thinking as I was going along, and I don't want to, since we're going to post this publicly and not everyone's read the book yet, I don't want to do spoilers, but as it was going along, I was trying to figure out different things, and I thought I knew, and you really did surprise me at the end.
Oh, good.
And so I was trying to figure different things out, and there were things that I just thought, well, you know, things maybe I was sort of like, well, it could go this way or it could go this way because this was just a totally different time. It could go many different
Right.
ways. And so that would be hard. That would be hard to
It was
just
hard
jump.
for me. I know that other people have a lot of success with it. I just couldn't. I couldn't immerse myself enough, I think, in 1951 to write that where I thought it was authentic.
Yeah,
An
yeah,
18-year-old, was not difficult, but
right.
I really had to get into the mindset of 1951 and
A
really a
teenager,
teenager,
right. Which is a,
which is different than an adult and a different time and a different mindset. And then to jump to 84, and I've never been 84, so that was all using my imagination and what I knew about my friend Charlene and other things that I know and have seen and people that I've talked to, and I just couldn't do it. And actually, Hoop was much harder for me to write than Betty.
oh, that's interesting. Because you've never been an 84-year-old, you've been an 18-year-old.
Well, and the story, another reason why it's the book that almost killed me is because when I started writing the book, it was Hannah's story. And after 6
Oh,
months, I called my agent and I said, I know why I'm having trouble with Hannah. And she said, why? I said, because it's not her book. I said,
I just got chills
I
there. Oh
said,
yeah, that
I
would have been a
said it's
totally
her
different
grandmother.
book.
Yeah, I said it's her grandmother's book. I said it's Boop's book.
It's definitely her grandmother's book. That's
It took
so
me 6
interesting.
months to figure that out. It took me 3 years to write the book, and that's a long time, I think, for a fourth novel. And I just really, I don't want to say I struggled, but I struggled
Yeah,
really.
well, it was a big change. It was a big lane change.
Yes,
Yeah, and you
and
wanted to do it
everything
right,
else
which you
was
did.
really imaginary. The
Mm.
other books, even they were not, even The Good Neighbor that was based in Philadelphia, it was still an imaginary neighborhood. So that was different than, I didn't want to offend anyone in South Haven, especially Charlene. It was really important for me that I got it right for her, and she clearly understood it was not about her. She's super sharp. She's not she's totally with it, and she loved it, and said she said that she realized she saw the things in the book that I definitely took directly from her, like Mrs. Gallbladder. That was somebody
Oh,
exactly that she told me about, and some other things about the staff and the kids. But what I wanted to capture was the way she feels about South Haven and still does. And she said that I did that. And that was really important to me.
oh, that must have been
And
so satisfying.
yes, it was.
I loved Boop. I would never have thought that I could feel so strongly about an 84-year-old character the way I did about Boop. I loved her. I I felt for her. I was rooting for her. My heart was breaking for her. There were just all these feelings. So I think, also as somebody who hasn't been an 84-year-old woman yet, God willing, I really thought you did a great job with her.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is the first book that I've written where I didn't really want to stop.
It's funny because I talk about this in book clubs sometimes when people ask me about my characters, because I will never forget that you said that at one of your book signings that I went to, that when you finish a book, you just tie a bow around it and you're done with your characters. And I always say that. I always say, I really love my characters. I have a hard time tying a bow around them. I want to be more like my friend Amy Sue Nathan, who says that when she finishes a book, she ties a bow around it and that's the end of it. So this was different. That's interesting.
This one was different. Yeah, I still, it just really became part of me, maybe because I was writing it for so long. I no longer live near South Haven, so
right.
I have a lot of pictures. I have a lot of books. I did a lot of research. I hung South Haven posters all over my apartment.
Oh.
Because I felt like I needed to be immersed, and I couldn't be in South Haven in an hour and 45 minutes like I could before. So that was, that was a challenge, but.
Well, you succeeded. It's a great book.
Thank you.
I highly recommend everyone run out, buy it, download it, read it however you can, borrow it from your library. It's just a beautiful read. It's a beautiful story about friends.
I don't think it will make you sad either at this time in
the
world, even though it's not like a super light or funny book. I'm really grateful that this is the book I have out at this particular time in the world, because I do think that it can be a little bit of an escape.
I totally agree with that. And I've been hearing that from so many friends. Genre choices have changed. Books that we can, really lose ourselves in have changed during this time. This was a book that was just so easy for me to lose myself in.
Okay.
I did not put this book down. It was so easy from beginning to end to just live in this world. It is not a sad story. It's a beautiful story. It's a real life, beautiful story. And I really enjoyed it. I really think that people will love this who have it, if there's anyone who hasn't yet discovered it, because how did it feel to be sitting on top of all of Kindle last month?
Pretty good. It was kind of surreal.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Because it took so long to write it. Part of me is relieved, that people are reading it, because when you know how it is when it just belongs to you for so long. It doesn't belong to anyone else, or your readers or your editor, and that's it. And then it's out there completely, and everybody, it's everybody's book. It's not just mine anymore. And
that's scary and exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Well, so we're going to wrap up, but I just wanted to know if you can give us any sneak peek about what you are working on now.
Sure. I'm writing a book right now. It's called Well-Behaved Wives. It's set in 1962 Philadelphia. I do like to challenge myself with every book. Unfortunately, this one is about a group of friends, like upper middle class young wives who are learning at a finishing school for businessmen's wives how to entertain and cook and be the perfect wife. And they realize that one of their friends is in trouble, so they kind of have to chuck all their manners and supposed to be's to come to her aid.
I love this.
Yeah, no longer matters what they're supposed to do. They have to do what's right. And 1962 is right before, women's movement really started. So it's right on the cusp of that, and not as easy for those women to rally as it would have been maybe 5 years later. So that
is so exciting. And what is so exciting about that is that after this current crisis that we're in, people, I think, are going to be looking for books that are written before.
Right.
So I think the timeline of that book is going to be really
I
interesting.
feel very grateful right now that I had chosen
Yes.
to stay kind of mid-century,
Yes.
like that. And 1951 was actually right before the quote unquote 50s, was before poodle skirts,
right,
before all those things. And 1962 is before JFK was assassinated. It was before, all the movements that were going on, before hippies, before everything. So it's just on the cusp, and that really interests me, like what was happening right before an explosion of consciousness.
Yes.
It's all simmering underneath. It doesn't all just happen in 1 second.
Of course.
Simmering beneath. So hopefully I'm capturing that well. Again, it's not as easy as I wish.
I like how you said you like to challenge yourself. Do you have an estimated time when that's coming out, or that hasn't been released yet?
That's supposed to come out in August of 2021.
Oh, how exciting. Okay, wonderful.
Yes, so I have to finish writing it.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
It's not easy in this current climate, actually.
I know, right? You think you're going to have all this time on your hands when you hear everything's shut down, but it's a confusing time.
Yes.
It's
but I feel very fortunate to have that to get lost in when I let myself to do it.
Good. Well, keep your chin up because we want to read it.
Well, thank you. Thanks again for doing this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, it's Amy Sue Nathan's The Last Bathing Beauty, available on Kindle. And also I have a link because I know there are some difficulties getting paperback books right now, but I have a link to bookshop.org, and you can order it from there also, and they're delivering very quickly.
And audio. I listen to the audiobook. I personally think it's wonderful. It's really performed beautifully.
Oh, that's wonderful. I haven't heard it yet.
And you can listen to a sample and see if you like the narrator. I think she's wonderful.
And a lot of people are saying that's a really that they're finding that to be a really accessible way to read right now. It helps them quiet their brains. So that's a great choice too. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.